Oh, good morning to you. Hey, is that Louise Jefferson's once again, trying to channel through me? George, I believe it is, and that's the Bella Purpose. Good morning, everybody. Oh, not just everybody, but I don't know what I'm thinking. Where's my head this morning, and where are my manners? There we go. Good morning, beautiful people, and welcome to today's installment, Thursday, August 13th, 2020. And you have somehow slipped on us universal banana peel and found your way right here where you should be inside an episode Bathrobe Moments. Today, a pretty serious topic we're going to talk with our guest about. We wanted to have two of them here, but one is traveling. We're going to have a post protest show next week with Pastor Judy. Judy, Lord have mercy. I knew I was going to have a brain fart, or also known as a senior moment, before I hit the 3-minute mark. I'm trying to break that habit. I'll take a junior moment, but these senior moments are really starting to concern me. I'm going to get me some kind of root or vegetable or Danny Torres to hook me up some concoction to drink. So, Pastor Rudy, right? Rudy. We're hopefully going to get him in next week after the peaceful protest. Of course, I'm speaking about the thing that's happening in Salt Lake City, Utah, this Saturday, the 15th. I think it's called Washington Square, where they're meeting. And this is for the Slave Free Project. Now, I don't know if you've been under a rock or, just haven't heard about it. But here, take a look before we bring our guest in. This is what you can be a part of. So after you see this, you're going to want to call everybody, phone a friend, start a watch party, and get people over to hear more about this worthy cause. Here we go.
When I saw you, I would lose control. Made me feel like there was no tomorrow. Should've told you that you're beautiful, but the days pass and now it's so long ago. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too. I wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Would you know my name? Would you know it? And did you feel the same? Wonder where are you now?
Right? Okay, a big issue, a pandemic in its own right, if you ask me. And yet, it's not the kind of thing you hear people talking about at gatherings. You don't hear a lot of ministers preaching about it from the pulpit. A lot of gaps in the conversation, if you will, in my opinion. And it's a lot closer to home for a lot of us than we could even realize. I believe if all of us knew just how close it is, it would scare us to death. And that's what it should do, because it's a big issue and we need to do better. So today, Jason Cisneros is here, and I think his plane is he landing now? Is that him? I hope you plan on moving that thing off our street. People need to get to work, Jason.
I know it's just that private jet has to land in, has to be able to go up, and I know it makes a bunch of noise, so I apologize to the neighbors.
Right. Okay.
Hey, thanks for having my my logo and everything ready for me here in the studio. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Well, Danielle flew it in. It was here. She was like, that's Danielle is Jason's assistant.
Yeah.
And what a great assistant she is, I might add.
You can't quite see the.
Oh, Hulk! I thought you just wore the shirt I gave you for Christmas, but now I see it's a different shirt. It has words underneath, Daddy. Okay.
Yeah, it goes.
Because your name thing on the screen is true.
That's a shirt.
Daddy Hulk.
That's a shirt.
Aww, that's sweet. And that's exactly how daughters see their daddies.
Yep.
Well, hopefully most daughters, but there are those who have a different everything. And I'm speaking about like the representation in the video you just saw. There are little girls and boys all over that are behind those fences, that are locked in rooms and all kinds of things that a lot of us cannot even imagine. And I'm gonna this. I know it's morning, everybody, and I know we're starting our day off, but you know what? Not every single day is a day of sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows for a lot of people. And so, at least the conversation should be something we should be able to have and still go about our day in a positive nature. So we're going to talk about some things that are going to be pretty eye-opening, shocking even to a lot of people. But again, coffee's not the only thing that can wake you up. So Jason, let's just get right to it. I got to be honest with you. I didn't really. I don't think I even understood it completely. I still don't. Until you asked me to put together that video, and I started looking at the images that were out there, and I was like, well, even if these are reenactments, they had to base it on something. And it was like, oh my God, I was shocked. Because when I look for stuff to make these things for other people, sometimes you think you're not gonna find anything, and it's like just row after row after row after row. And this was the case with missing and exploited look, if you will. So first of all, first question I want before we get into certain ministries, your relationship.
First off, I wanted to tell everybody that video. I mean, I can't watch it without getting a tear in my eye, and it's interesting because there's different reenactments, right? Like you get into the world of trafficking, and there's so many sensitive spots, right? And there's so many things that, like when you're dealing with victims, and and how they look, and what the representation is, and what's like glamorized, and what's reality, and you get into all these discussions because we're also victims advocates, right? One of the things that Pastor Rudy is very adamant about is that
what? Here it comes.
Woo woo.
Jason went woo woo.
Love him. Tell him I love him.
He said he loves you, honey. He loves you too.
So
in his I just woke up voice.
Go ahead. Well, so anyway, the idea is that you run into different scenarios, and the work that we do, and I was working with about 12 other rescue units before I ran into Pastor Rudy, and I was just trying to find a home. You know how it is, like when you and I met, we were instantly family, and that's how I felt with Pastor Rudy. And and he's a Christian, and I have I've had an attitude towards the church, right? Like I feel like I've got a really great relationship with God, but had a problem with the church, and Pastor Rudy's really a great representative of what Christians are supposed to be and how they're supposed to act and whatnot.
Right.
And so anyway, so it was like you and I meeting. It was instantly family, and as I've traveled this world, and we go out and we do rescues, and you work in this field, like you said, it's a heavy subject. It's something that I decided a long time ago that I was going to put myself out there for awareness. In fact, the first rescue I ever got invited on was because of my platform. They said, we really want you to help get the word out. And you run across that video that you put together, and there's things that people think are happening out there. First of all, there's a huge swath, to your point, there's a huge swath of people that don't even realize how prevalent a problem that this is. When you say 800,000 kids in the United States are abducted every year, it's an unfathomable number to people.
Crazy. It's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic. And if you haven't been touched by it, or you haven't heard of it, you go, how is that even possible? And a couple 100,000 of those are family abductions, and dads or moms taking their own kids, blah blah blah. But it's still a giant number. It's up almost 600,000. And then what happens after that, when they get groomed or taken into trafficking, and you see the picture that hits me the hardest throughout that whole thing is that little black girl, because I've seen with my own eyes, really almost identical to that little girl that we pulled out on a unit, or on a mission that we went on, and it's crazy,
Mhm.
and anyway, so I wanted to. I know we're going to talk more about this. I didn't want to
We
take over.
are.
So I just
No, no,
wanted to
no.
say thank you, and that is a beautiful. Like, I literally, like, I can't watch that video without tearing up in a couple of places, and
Well,
it's something that's powerful.
I tell you what we're going to do is I know you guys are going to have plenty of footage from this weekend in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to take out the posters and things advertising uh, Saturday and replace it with the real life photos from Saturday. And hopefully you'll be able to use this or tweak it to be more realistic and to, with what your needs are. And hopefully it'll be something you can continue to use. And we're here for you. If you want to do whatever you want to do, you want to put another one together just from the protest, we can do that too.
Right.
So tell everybody to get some live footage on their phones and stuff, because we can incorporate all that. So keep that in mind. I wanted to talk, first of all, I want to understand for myself before we go even further down the sidewalk here. When we see the term flash on the screen in the commercials for that, almost like that one in there with the missing flyer that's up on the telephone pole. You always see missing and exploited children. Call the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And you don't hear the term trafficking or any of that. It's kind of politically correct, if you ask me, because it just makes you think, okay, they're missing, and no one really goes into, well, what does exploited really mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And is that where the trafficking component lives, inside the exploited side?
Yeah. I mean,
Is it the same thing, Jason?
it's the same thing. They obviously, you're trafficked there. In trafficking, there's two sides of the equation. You have labor traffickers, right, who they're using children or immigrants, or in foreign countries or this country or whatever it is, for labor purposes.
Okay.
And then sexual exploitation, sexual trafficking, it says it all in the label, right? Which means that they're being taken specifically so that they can be utilized in the sex trade. And and there's an appetite, which is a really disgusting way to put it, but there's an appetite for underage girls and
Yes.
boys and boys.
Yes.
And so they're exploited. Yes, but it's sex trafficking is what it is. It's prostituting a child as if they were your own property for financial gain. Like, if you actually get into it and dig into and not cover it over, right? They're trying to do these pedophiles, and the different people that are out there, they're trying to whitewash the terms. They're calling it now youth attracted. They're calling it pedosexual, and trying to throw a P into the LGBTQ,
Yeah. That
whatever,
alphabet.
the numbers, the alphabet,
Yeah.
the alphabet group.
Yeah.
And I know that nobody in that world accepts them, and they did it on their own, and it's not, the two aren't equated. I know that. But at the end of the day, when you try to soften a subject that shouldn't be softened, you take away from the impact that people have, or that it has in people's minds.
I agree. About maybe 8-9 months ago, I had a guest here on the show, a gentleman who lives here in Naperville, and he has a business. Not even a business, I guess you could say. It's not even well, it is. It's a nonprofit. They make leather products, but he employs women that have been rescued from the Philippines from sex work and trafficking over there. And he was on the show, and he went over and he went posing as a John. And when he went down that strip like Las Vegas, where it's nothing but bar after bar after bar, and the girls are standing up there and things rotating, and they're in all little cages and different little outfits, and he had his phone, he had a cover specifically made that you couldn't see where the camera was peeking through, but he had to keep his hand moving, his arm swinging the whole time, so you're kind of going like this. But the things you saw and what the still photos, what really grabbed me was this: not the sex, not the girls up there posing and being exploited at the time, but in the restaurants, the men who were across from them and the look on their faces while the girl was sitting there, like not able to look up. And I used some of those images when I was looking for things to put in your video. The intimidation, just the turn down of the fear in the girl's lips that he has like this, and the way the one girl looks over like this, because you know. So anyway, they looked like people I see at Rotary. They looked like people I stand in front of and behind in the grocery store, and they were all Americans. Most of them were Americans that he met up with, posing as another John, like, "Hey man, hey, I'm so glad I finally got in," that kind of thing. And there were even retired professional athletes, and there were, believe it or not, there was there were guys who were prior military who were there specifically standing and taking pictures with the little girl with all this makeup. She couldn't have been more than 7. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, Loren, a lot of people are older men of wealth and this and the other, and they come over there.
That's why I can go undercover. I mean, because they look like me, you know,
they look like you.
They do. And that's the role, right? I'm either the rich white guy or the bodyguard for the rich white guy. So
right. So you can. So tell me this. Okay. So your involvement with CERT Ministries. Now, CERT, isn't that actually an acronym used in like military operations?
Yep. It's search, evangelize, rescue, and train.
Okay.
And so and part of searching is obviously, people don't understand like how much work it goes into a single case, right? Like, these guys grab these girls and they take them, and one of the first things that they do is they drug them to make them compliant, right? One of the ladies that's going to be speaking at the event,
protest?
It's going to be at the protest at the march we're having, 7 p.m. by the way, Salt Lake City, Washington Square. And just show up, if you're there or can get there. We have, Christopher Kaysen's driving all the way over to come and hang out with us.
He is?
Yeah.
I could have rode with him.
Yeah. Yeah. He's making a road trip out. You know how he is. He
will do that.
Right.
Right.
So,
right.
So, so search, evangelize, rescue, and train. And searching, these guys take them, they drug them, they begin the beatdown. One of the ladies that's going to be speaking, it was her family. Her daughter got taken when she was 16, and that's what they did. And she's one of these, strong young women. Comes her mom, when you hear her speak on Saturday, her mom is a strong woman. They come from a really tight knit family. And they were in Las Vegas, and she was in Las Vegas with some friends, and her friends got paid by some people to say, hey, if you could have her at this location at this time, here's some money for you. And they sold her their own friend, right? And she was out there. They grabbed her, they drugged her, and then they begin the process of grooming, which is, they would ask her a question, and as they would ask her a question, if she went to answer, they would beat her down. You don't speak. You're an animal. You're a pet. You're property, right? And so part of that is they can take you with very little effort, and then the effort and energy that's needed to be expended to get them back is incredible.
Right.
That takes days and hours and money and traveling and following tips and putting out, like it's difficult. So, the subject of trafficking is so is so complex that we've got to teach our kids what to look for, what to look out for.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah, you got to keep them off of, or keep an eye on your child's social media 100% of the time. I don't care if they think that you're invading their privacy or whatever it is, because a lot of this grooming is these traffickers, and they're hitting them up on Snapchat. which makes it really difficult because those messages disappear, makes it really difficult to track them down digitally once they've been taken. So you see that grooming happening, and they appear like they're talking to another young person or teenager or whatever it is. People are watching your own as a parent. They're watching your social media. They're getting landmarks. They're seeing pictures with your child. This just happened to a friend of mine, and just some shots were being taken of his child, and they were circulating, right? They were circulating, and so whether that's targeting or whether they're using them for online child porn or whatever it is either way, you got to be careful these days, because it's a digital world where they're grooming your child.
Yeah, that's so true. A couple of weeks ago, Brian and I were at a dinner here in town at my ex-sister-in-law's house, and my niece was there, and she has 3 kids, and one of them is a 13-year-old daughter, Sierra. And I remember she was in the dining room. You know how the kids go off and sit wherever they want in the house. They're not where all the adults are, and they're on their things, not even talking to each other. And I kept watching her, and the way she would giggle and stuff, and then type something back in. I said, are you texting your boyfriend? She goes, no, I'm on a Bible verse site. And I said, a Bible verse site? She goes, yeah. I said, so you could have a boyfriend on a Bible verse site? She goes, no, he's an adult. And I was like, what? And
Yeah.
and she says, I said, well, what's so funny? And she said, oh, he said something. She said, it just didn't make sense. And I told her mom, I said, what is that thing that Sierra's on in there? And there's an adult she's interacting with, a Bible site. She goes, oh, I don't know. She's always on something. And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, we did this. We were doing. Matter of fact, it was a fundraiser. Amy Ellis and her husband Todd, they're the parents of the young lady that got taken. They started a foundation to raise money for CERT Ministries called Save the Next Girl and Boy. After CERT Ministries had rescued their daughter, and we were at that event, and we had some police and some digital, some FBI people there that were talking from stage about this subject. And we all went out to dinner afterwards. And this lady went home right after she left the event. Went home.
Yeah, I remember this.
And pulled and just said, give me your phone, to her 11-year-old daughter. And sure enough, she said, well, there was this interaction between this young man, and our guys tracked it back. Right. And it was a 53-year-old man posing as a teenage boy. Right. So this stuff is happening, whether we know it or not, it's happening. And that's grooming for the children for your own children. You got to pay attention.
You have to. I remember one time I took one of my little nephews, Xavier, to an art thing where they were painting all the kids' faces. And I promise you, I turned my head he was 3. I turned my head for just a couple seconds, and he had run off and was all the way across the walk path, standing up on a picnic table that fast. That's the only way I could see him. If I'm telling you, that panic, that instantaneous panic when you look and you keep thinking you're going to see him any second right there, and you don't. By the time, and this couldn't have been more than 45 seconds before I spotted him right across from me, standing up on the picnic table, I probably would have had a heart attack or went running in the wrong direction and this and the other. It's that fast. And that's him just wandering off. That's not a planned grabbing.
Right. There's so many, it's just an awareness. I mean, because parents have abdicated parenting to a screen, in a lot of instances. And they're like, okay, well, the child is quiet and leaving me alone while I'm on my own screen. And we've just abdicated that role. And so they're watching YouTube, they're on Snapchat. They've got their own world that is developed digitally. And it's not that you can see it with your own eyeballs. Like you used to be able to look out your back door and there was neighborhood parties and and playing with the neighborhood kids, and you could keep your eye because we were engaged in our children's lives, and now because we've abdicated that role and we've become so addicted to digital screens and digital babysitters and all the other kind of stuff that we've done, we've lost track. And the traffickers and the pimps, which is what they really are,
Right.
That they have an easier shot at your kid.
When we return from our short break here in just a second, we're going to talk to Jason about the name, first of all, slave free, because slavery is really what this equates to. And go a little bit deeper into what can be expected this weekend in Salt Lake City, how you can be involved even from your own couch, and things to look out for that could be red flags. Stay put. We'll be right back.
When I saw you, I would lose control. Made me feel like there was no tomorrow. Should've told you that you're beautiful, but the days pass and now it's so long ago. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too.
Okay, well, all righty then. We're back. Welcome back, everyone. Today, our guest is Jason Cisneros, representing the Slave Free Project, a peaceful protest and march in Salt Lake City this weekend, the 15th, in a place called Washington Square. I'm going to put the information on the screen before the hour is up so you can learn more about what they're doing with certain ministries and trying to raise awareness and eradicating this horrible problem. Jason, can you give us an idea? I know you go through extensive training to do this. This isn't just something people just get up and say, okay, I'll show up today at 4 o'clock and let's go. But take us into one of the missions that you've been. What did it look like? Did it look like were you even prepared for what you encountered? The condition of the person, was the light missing in their eyes? Those things that, unless you were there, you wouldn't know. So can you shed a little light on something like that? And then we're going to move forward down the road about how people can help. And then I want to talk about the families, what they deal with.
Yeah. It's, every one of them, I get goosebumps every time I think about, all of the shit that I've seen. And every single one of them is different, the scenarios, where you find them, the final rush at the end when you do discover them, the setups for bigger rescues and all that kind of stuff. And there's a couple of things that stand out to me. And they're two different missions. One, the first time I went, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what to expect because it was my first one. And, when you're sitting across from somebody and they're showing you videos, because that's how you shop, right? You're just there. It's either that or they take you down these chambers and where they've got these kids or young ladies or little boys stored.
Are there usually more than one when you get there?
There's always more than one, always, because
So you have to take them all.
Well, again, depending on the scenario, you do what you can. You get as many as you can. And how well the organization is, that operation, because you show up sometimes and you think that you're going after one child and there's 7 other ones that are.
How do you walk away and leave somebody?
Yeah, there's so many decisions that have to be made along the way that it just makes it really rough. But I remember that first time, you're sitting across from somebody and you're watching these videos and the different things that you have to see to when you're undercover. And I wasn't prepared for the rage,
that it was going to bring out in you.
Because, when you have kids of your own, what you see, your own child, you see your own family, you see, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, your daughters, your mom, these people. And I wasn't prepared for the rage because I thought I had dealt with the rage of my childhood. Right. And when I was a kid, I would get to a place where I would black out because I had to fight my full grown adult father. Right. And so I would just black out and whatever was inside of me would take over to defend myself or to attack. And I got that under control and I got that rage under control, but I felt myself in that particular issue, in that particular moment. I felt myself like everything went gray and I went, oh shit, because I don't know what I'm going to do when I black out. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
And, and if you're in a third world country and you end up killing somebody and you blow the whole mission like that. And I was able to snap back in to my body because of the training that I'd gone through to be able to address that. And this wasn't trafficking training. This was personal development training of being able to manage my state. Right. That physiology, focus, language, emotion, breathing, and that type of thing to bring myself back into, okay, I'm not going to blow the opportunity for the 36 little girls that we eventually got out of there on that particular mission, but I would have
36.
Yeah. And so, so I remember that rage just as it's like, it's like when you're addicted to something and, if you've done cocaine or if you've done whatever it is, there's that taste on your tongue of that rage that was there. I wasn't prepared for it, but what it did was it anchored inside of me this commitment to do this work for the rest of my life, no matter what. Because if we hadn't have shown up that day, if that mission wouldn't have gone down, right, there'd be 36 little girls and 2 boys, I think, on that one, that would still have no hope. Right.
Right.
And that leads me into my second memory. We were on a mission and this team that this was a CERT Ministries one. And we were searching for about 8 days for this particular young lady. And we finally tracked her down and we found her with her pimp. And we surrounded that car waiting for, police to show up and whatnot. And we have a gentleman that that's on our team that is he's a giant human being, big white dude. And it was freezing cold. And he was posted up right next to her door and just standing out there. And I was on kind of the outer perimeter to check things, make sure things weren't happening and nobody else was coming. And I was close enough to hear an interaction. She rolled down her window And she said, she looked at him and she goes, "It's freezing out here. Yeah, I can't believe all of you guys are here for me." Right.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and he
Remember
looked
saying
at
that.
her and he said, "Oh, baby girl, you've got an entire host of people that have been searching for you and praying for you and that absolutely love you, that you don't even know, that you don't even know yet."
Mhm.
Right. And it was, that was so impactful for me, because she was a little girl of color, and he was this big giant white guy, and he was just standing post, and he didn't care. Like, people came out, they came out blazing. He was ready. He was ready to lay his life on the line for this little girl who he didn't know, right? Who we'd been searching for. We had pictures of her posted up so that we all had a visual of when we saw her.
You know her
And
outside.
right. And they'd been looking for her for, I think the case started 2 months earlier. So, and it was such a deep impact for me that led to why I wanted to do this march and this protest,
Sure.
right? Because
Right.
out there you have Democrats and Republicans are fighting over an election right now. And so they're using us, and they're using the citizenry as weapons against each other by having us fight. And one of the things is this racial thing that's
Racial
popped up,
divide.
right? The
Mhm.
racial
Mhm.
divide. And
Mhm.
I don't see that in the real world, business world, and I don't
Mhm.
see it in the world of rescuing and whatnot.
Mhm.
Like, you could go through this. I mean, at the end of the day, the pimps are black, and they're pimping out children of color, and you have this entire team of white guys. We had we have black guys that are part of our organization, but I don't see it. What I see is the heart of the human being. I don't see the skin color. I see
Mhm.
the heart of the human being wanting to be involved, or wanting to do the work, or putting their life on the line for another human being, regardless of their skin color. I see black, white, Hispanic, everybody working together for good.
Mhm.
Um, and I see everybody wanting the best for each other, or I see bad people that are doing horrible things. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is, right?
True.
So I sat there one night, and I was like, you know what? And I was watching these riots and people tearing down innocent businesses and burning and torching and killing each other, and all of this stuff. They're like, these things that were happening. And I got mad, and I'm like, fuck it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a march and a protest for people that are actually in pain. People that, and that the advocacy work that I do is for people that have had choice ripped out of their life.
Right.
Domestic violence, women that are prisoners in their own home, these children that have no choice, right? People that are starving to get death that don't have any choice. And so that's where I just got mad, and I said, like you popped into my head actually when we had that first conversation about Power of We, when you said, "Oh, I don't know if people are going to show up," and I was like, "Dude, if it's just me and you, it's going to be one hell of a party." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that popped into my head, and I said, "You know what? If it's just me with a sign, it's going to be one hell of a party."
And that is the mindset you have to have, because I don't think I'll ever understand it. Why it is that so many of the things that should be crystal clear, that people it shouldn't even have to be talked about, or convinced. You don't have to convince. That's really what I'm saying. Some
Right.
of these things you find yourself trying to convince people of the merit of it. I just don't get it. But you do it anyway.
Well, you did it. You reached into the inner city and you said, "You know what? I'm gonna do something for these kids." Right? I'm going to do something for these kids, and I'm going to bring in people. And that's where, like I said, another example of black and white. You're
Coming
black.
together.
I'm whatever the color I am on that day. And
Right.
and we were working together, and our hearts were, you pulled me in with your vision, and we were serving those kids, and I got to look in their eyes, and I got to watch them hear you, and I got to watch them interact, and I got to watch them have a spark or a light go off in their eyes that there's this is possible for me.
Yeah.
That
my favorite memory of that, from what you're talking about right there, was when we went out on the sidewalk.
Mm.
And they were the anticipation, just like in the Willy Wonka thing, which is where that idea to do that came from.
Yep.
You know how Willy had them all outside and they were waiting to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it was. They saw that. I saw that in their faces. I heard that in their voices that, wow, we really get to go in there. So let me turn the corner here.
And Charisma.
Right.
My girl Charisma.
I know. I'll never forget her. Let's talk about, Jason. Let's talk about for a moment. We're talking about the victims, of course, and we're talking about the rescue efforts. Those are two separate sets of people, but there's a third set, and that are the people that make this a reality for all of us. Who are these people? Is it like a drug cartel kind of organization? Are they just a bunch of, is there a club of pedophiles, or are these individuals who are doing it for money? Who are these people that are actually coming and taking our people? Who are they?
It's so there's a hierarchy, right, in the criminal world, and child traffickers are the lowest scum on the bottom of humanity, right? What's up, JTB? Good to see him. He did a great job with that power of weed.
Yes, he did.
But when I look at it, it's people that they're not. Number one, it's one of the fastest growing crimes on the planet, right? Because the deterrents aren't in place yet, right? Like Pastor Rudy and I differ in a couple of areas. This is one of them. I think that if you executed some of these people publicly, it would start to be a deterrent. But like you said, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the people participating in it are rich white people, and not that that's the only group of people that's doing it, because it's not, I promise you. But at the end of the day, it's people of influence. It's of people that of money. They come from money. And so they're in some of these areas to stop a push like we're trying to get, which you need to increase the penalty for the crime. Right. You have to, right? And that's what I was saying in the beginning, where this is a complex issue. Sure. You've got the food insecurity in the home. You have broken families where the father's not in the home. You have all these things that set up a perfect scenario for a trafficker who is looking to at this child like a bag of cocaine that they can sell 6 to 10 times a night.
Oh, wow.
For years. And that's how they treat it, right? So when you talk about who's doing this, it's criminals that have killed, or a part of their soul has died, or whatever it is, to be able to use and enslave, which has happened over history. Slaves have been white, slaves have been black, slaves have been all colors. Right now, the biggest slave group is Asians, right? Because your Nikes and your iPhones need to be made. And so throughout history, you look at the people that are enslaving them, right? And you look at the people that are profiting off of these slaves. And when you get people that are out there that are kneeling for things that like police interaction and so on and so forth, but they're not kneeling for this, because at the end of the day, now you start getting into China and you start getting into the Nikes and LeBron James and these people that are kneeling, but they're not standing up for human trafficking, because that's the impact there. I hate the NBA. Like, I can't stand them right now. And that's why, because they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites. So should they stand, they should stand for these children, and at the end of the day, I don't even know where the hell we were going, because I don't want to get political on this particular.
Right. Well, let me throw something.
My point is there's a group of very well organized people that do this. And you have, just like every industry, you have people at the top that are very, very good at it, right? And then you have a whole bunch of fakers and wannabes and people that are trolling, Figueroa Street or Las Vegas or downtown Atlanta, and they're in white vans and they look like people. They look like anything that you would see on the news or in movies.
Let me ask, um, have you ever encountered or heard about this? Excuse me. Because a lot of brainwashing, a lot of, like you say, we call it grooming, but that's really just another a safe term for brainwashing, intimidation, all the things that go into controlling,
Yep.
manipulating. Have you ever had someone that you were trying to rescue and they were so brainwashed, so afraid of their captor that they did not want to leave?
Oh yeah,
They
every
fight
time.
you. I've heard about that.
Yeah, almost
Talk
every
about
time. I mean, unless it's there's again different scenarios, but I will tell you that when so the reason why certain ministries is so powerful is because it's not just about you can't do everything, right? But what they do is they want to impact the soul and the spirit of that child and then the families that they're bringing them back to.
that. Hmm.
And so they do it through their Christian ministry and
Hmm.
they're praying and Lori, who's Pastor Rudy's wife, customizes these Bibles, right? And make sure, and like I said, that one girl that they pulled out that I was talking about with the big guy, the big white dude, she got in a truck when we were taking her, and got her out of there, put her in the truck with Maddie, and you keep them around females, right? Because you don't want them to have any male interaction because of all of the negative aspects to it. And Maddie's praying with them, and Lori's praying with them, and Pastor Rudy gets in the truck and he says one thing. He says, "Look, I want to apologize to you on behalf of all men that have ever mistreated you. There are those that are out here that love you, and there's those out here that will not harm you, and that they will lay down their life for you, and we love you." And then he bounces, right? But for somebody to hear that, and then to be supported and surrounded by all of that love, when it's just strictly somebody goes in and rescues, 96% of the time, that girl goes back into the lifestyle at some point, right? And when certain ministries is involved, 96% of the time they don't go back.
You don't go back.
Because in interaction, I mean, you could just think about you and I when we were younger and we were doing the shit that we were doing, right? If somebody would have just gone, "Hey, I think that Loren's in trouble. I'm going to yank him out of here and put him over here." There's no interaction with the soul or the spirit to change what has been damaged, right? Because all you were looking for as a child, think about it. Everybody that's watching this, all you're looking for as a child is to be loved, right? You're looking for love, and embedded in love is protection. And so when the only love and protection that they know is their pimp or that lifestyle, or the other girls, they feel guilty because they left and the other girls were left behind, and all that other kind of stuff. It's psychologically, you have to repair. You have to undo the damage. You have to rebuild a human being, because the destruction, and this is abusers, domestic violence abusers, traffickers, what they do is they break you down mentally. They break you down mentally, and you aren't who you think you are. And everybody out there that thinks, "Oh, that would never happen to me," I promise you, you get shot up with heroin, and you get beat down, and you get thrown in cages, and you get food thrown to you on the floor, and you get treated like an animal for long enough, it's going to impact you, and you're going to be a different person.
Absolutely. Now, listen, there are people, I know it's going through the minds of most of us who are watching. And so let's talk about support, involvement, volunteering, that sort of thing. Because I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to sign me up. I want to go." But I can't imagine that just any old person, that it must take a special kind of person to be able to go into the field, because you can't unsee things and you can't unhear things. And, we don't want another victim, because you got there and it was not the picture you had been painting in your mind.
It's not the picture that you paint in your mind, I promise.
Exactly. And so people are beginning to ask. Joshua Berglund says, "How do we best support certain ministries?" Now, I went into their website, and there's a couple of things to me. Pastor Rudy was going to be here, but he's traveling. So we're going to do a post-protest show next week. We'll get you the dates and the time, but we'll get you the date so that you can show up and get some of those questions answered. But for now, I did see that they have an intern program there. That's one way. Of course, you can donate funds to help fund these missions. But they look for
Let's talk
people.
about donations just for a minute, because there's a lot of people that go, oh, I want to go on a mission, I want to do this, I want to do that. Look, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you, you don't want to go on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know I don't.
But there are people that are meant for that type of work.
Right.
But it starts. Look, at some point in time, one of the people that supports financially looked at Pastor Rudy, and he's completely qualified to go ex-military, EMS, like lots of experience, should go, big, strong dude, and has not, and never did ask to go. But Pastor Rudy goes, why haven't you asked to go on a mission? And he said, look, I'm donating because if you can't trust me to trust you with my money, how are you going to trust me to come out on a mission? Right. And it costs money. Like, you hear $20,000 per kid and blah, 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 blah. Well, if you have a huge overhead and you're in it for the Hollywood of it, then it's going to cost a lot of money. Pastor Rudy does this. It's about $3,600 per child, right? On average. And last year, there's about 130, 140 kids rescued on less than $100,000. These guys don't waste a dime. There's no giant overhead. There's no Hollywood about it. I'm literally one of the only people that goes out and puts my face out, because the rest of the operators are,
And I want to mention this because I want to mention this though, because it's in line with what you're saying. And I went to the website and I've done some additional research, so I know it's true. Everybody, it's not just funding the mission to train people, which you have to constantly do. Things are constantly changing. These perpetrators are constantly getting better, upping their game, constantly moving people. They have a network. So it's not just the going in and then it's the grabbing. It's what happens for a certain amount of time right afterwards. And then you have aftercare, because on the website I saw on there, with certain ministries will tell you, once someone is rescued, they either go back to their family, they either go to a safe house, or they go into a program. Now, sometimes, you can't think that automatically assume that all these victims come from families of influence. So, and do you think insurance is picking up the tab for the aftercare programs? No. Certain ministries has to set these things up and have a bed ready for people before they even know if they're going to get them or not. Right?
And that goes on for months. I mean, you got to get in a truck and you got to drive from LA to Las Vegas, and then, oh, sorry, wrong. It wasn't the right tip. They're down in Nogales, New Mexico, or whatever it is. And they have to drive down there, and it takes gas, and you've got 3 to 5 people that are on it. You've got all of the stuff that it takes, the vehicle uptake and the surveillance. Like when you actually do find them, you got to set up surveillance, and you have to have a big team of people, and you got to feed those people. And it takes a lot of resources.
Yes.
And Pastor Rudy doesn't waste a single dime. Matter of fact, he and his 2 daughters and wife, they donate back into the ministry. Like they'll go out and they'll do, their own type of work. 90% of what they make in their own life goes back in, and they live on 10%.
Wow. And that's the passion. That's the commitment. And so, they're in it for the right reasons. A lot of us don't get involved with things because, I want to see where the money goes. This isn't the kind of thing where anybody would do it for any other reason than to save a child. Because, like I said, when you go to sleep, you can't unsee what you've seen. You cannot unhear what you hear. And the pictures continue to get painted when these people are rescued. They're telling you some of the things that happened. And again, so that's as bad as going into the mission, I would think, for the people that have to be there to support them when they come out. We're almost out of time, so I want to spend the rest of the interview. Let's talk about this weekend. What people can do if they can't make it to Salt Lake City. What can they do? And what's the best way to get involved?
Yeah, the best way to get involved is to get involved. And, awareness is fantastic. You see a lot of things and hashtags. Like right now, people are really paying attention to this, and I'm super grateful for that, right? But what the next question that you always hear is, that's a great hashtag, right? Save our children, save the children, slave free project. Like these hashtags are really good, but as you see, right, coronavirus is really popular and then it drops off in popularity. And then the racial wars were popular and then they drop off. Like
Right.
And what I'm telling people right now is to engage, right? Find an organization that you align with. I love certain ministries. Slave Free Project is something that is going to expand their impact and their abilities and capabilities as we grow it out. And this is the launch. Like this is the first time we're doing a slave free project, and we're introducing it to the world, right? Because we need more resources. But there's you donate money, or you donate your time. It's time and treasure. Those are the only